Hold on. Should be going live in a second. All right. I think that we're live, but I'm not positive. I think we are. Hi, everyone. How's it going? It's Adam here, and I am joined today with Brian.
Hey, it's me.
And we're here to talk about episode 9, Rain on Your Charade, as well as what's going to happen with episode 10. Is that coming out soon? Is it not? We're going to get to all that, and we're going to try to answer viewer questions. It's getting a little tough, though, because Google Hangout is so horrifically bad.
Yeah, the comments are a little bit weird. Sometimes we'll refresh and we'll see none, and then sometimes we'll refresh again and we'll see more, and I don't know.
Exactly.
So we'll do our best to cater to you guys and make sure your questions are acknowledged and answered. And
I'm not even sure how we can even see your questions is the one big issue. And I think the YouTube comments are really all we're going to get, and I'm not sure how much of those load and how much of those work because they've been a little glitchy.
Yeah, they've been
a little being an understatement for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, we're going to try. And if your comment won't go through and we don't see it, you can always email your questions to us.
Oh, yeah, you can do that.
Yeah. You can email them at duncanepic@gmail.com. I will put it in the description.
Yeah, that's a nice streamlined way to do it.
Yeah, so I will put that in the description, and we will get to that. So,
Great.
Ryan, I have a question for you.
Yes.
How was making episode 9? How did it go?
Well, it was a lot of fun because it came during a really interesting part of our lives where we were encountering a lot of change with college and the end of high school and all of that cliche drama, and you know, it's just it was our real lives, and that's what we were going through. And I mean, if you felt like it was a weird episode, like that's totally normal, like because it's meant to throw you off guard to a degree. It really shows you that these characters don't simply exist for reality entertainment purposes. There's a whole other layer to them that isn't always in the forefront, and there is to us too.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of it is that we don't want to really succumb to the stereotypical competition format anymore. We really want to branch out and do new things. And
right.
I know, yeah, but
yeah,
go on.
Oh no, I didn't say but. I said
right.
right.
All right.
No. I was just gonna. Let me see what I can say. I mean, like you see characters like you have Suitcase, you have Toilet, you have Balloon, Microphone. Like they'll get put down by other members of like the team or other characters like briefly in episodes, but like what difference does it really make? And sometimes it seems like a few little moments scattered across like different episodes don't have much of an effect on those characters, but they add up. And I mean, in the case of Microphone, she may have like reached her breaking point, or like maybe like a turning point, if you will.
So why don't we talk about Soap for a second?
Sure, let's talk about Soap.
Soap is a character that a lot of people think is annoying, but a lot of people think is one of the best characters on the show. She's very divisive and, you know,
polarizing. Yeah.
A very clear division of people who like her and hate her. And I think the votes show that very, very well.
Oh, definitely.
And she was actually eliminated this episode. Sorry for spoilers. If you haven't watched the episode, I mean, you probably shouldn't watch the post-launch live episodes. And we would like to think it did.
Yeah. I mean, like if you look back at episode 8 when you could see her starting to get over it, and in episode 6 he mentions how she's not like freaking out over every cluster of dirt she's seen. And yeah, I mean, like she just started to take more charge of the team, and it wasn't always for the best, and it might have sidelined baseball a little bit because he's a bit of a hands-off kind of easygoing captain, and Soap didn't always have the best ideas, but she became more than her compulsive cleaning habits, and finally kind of trying to push those to the curb was the direction for her character. It was like the logical path for her to take.
Yeah, and you know, when writing a character like Soap, who on paper she has OCD, she's obsessed with cleaning, she likes to clean all the time, you know, it's really easy to just make her freak out about cleaning all the time and nothing more.
Yep.
And that's something that I think a lot of people saw coming, and I think that's what contributed to her early, you know, the fact that people didn't like her. And I think that over time, she really started to, her personality shine through. You know, she wanted to be a team leader, but she had leadership problems.
Right.
You know, she wanted to be the leader, but she just wasn't really capable of it because of her own personal problems.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't think of her as a one gag character. Definitely not.
Friendly, like she likes to sing a lot, but she also has problems dealing with things that are dirty. And, you know, her morals get pushed aside when that happens because she can't help herself. So, you know, when that comes into play, you know, there's a lot of things we take into account when writing Soap. And, you know, it's sad to see her go.
Yeah, I was very sad.
She did have a lot, but what I want you guys to know is that to make you feel better, at least, you know, her story arc was coming to an end as it is. It's not like we had to kind of rush it to make it fit. I think she really did, you know, go through everything she needed to as a character.
She served her purpose.
Yeah, she served her purpose to the story, and out she goes, you know.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Great character. We'll see her again for sure in the future. But she's not in the competition. And as we've said in the past multiple times, we don't think there will be a rejoin this season.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because everyone knows the rejoiner would obviously win. So, like, as it always happens.
There's no reason to do that. I mean, if you lose, that's just the way it is. You went your story. I mean, if a character had an unfulfilled story, that's another thing. But if they don't, there's no reason for them to come back for no reason.
Right, yeah, no. In all seriousness, people want to see a rejoiner, but when it comes down to it, they're like, well, they weren't in the whole game, so they don't deserve to win. So it's like, all right, why?
Exactly. Well, that's the big thing, yeah. They just want to see more of them, but they never think they should win. And
so you'll see more of her, but she won't be in the competition. There you go.
Paper rejoined the game. He skipped half the competition and almost made the finals, but I think as a creative decision, we decided OJ and Taco would be a better fit for the competition because we really saw more of them grow as characters because they went through the whole story and they weren't absent for any of it. So since they really stick in the viewers' heads and they had the biggest fan bases, we believe they served a better story.
Right. Yeah, and again, Paper had his arc, and you know, trying to make it any more than that would be like, well, that's a disservice to the other characters. We got to show everybody.
Exactly, and you know, Paper's story was, you know, obviously he had problems when he was locked up in Idiotic Island in season 1.
Right.
So he freaked out at even the saying of the word, and then he faced his inner demons, and he was cured, and he felt better, and that was it.
Gave some help to OJ, gave him some support, and
he had nothing to prove to himself in the final two. So
yeah, and we were never planning on rehashing that story. Like
if he. Yeah, I think that's actually, I know this is off topic, but that's something that Total Drama did very poorly.
Well, we can point fingers and say, look at us, we're better, but
no,
you know.
No, I'm not saying that, but I do want to bring it up with Mike in Total Drama, how he faced his inner demons, which, by the way, we did first. He did a very similar story after us, which is interesting. And then in the next season, they were just back. So I'm like, well, okay.
Yeah, and they were just back, and then he had a similar story again. And the whole thing, like, I mean, it was all stars, and it was bringing back the same arcs and kind of character points that we've seen. But you know, that's their direction. The
reason we're pointing fingers at Total Drama, which, you know, whatever, is because we're making you guys aware that we're not going to do that.
Yeah, exactly. It's a cautionary tale, if you will.
Exactly, it's a cautionary tale. Don't expect things to come back that we're already finished.
Yeah, we don't want to oversimplify anything. Like, if you, like, I mean, when people are going to be at their most predictable is at the beginning of the show, when it's like, all right, we have to kind of find our footing and give you a clear idea of the core, like the base of their character and their personalities. And I mean, that's what a reality show, like a real like reality show, like not satire, like that's what they do. They'll like try to strip it down to its core and be like, oh, this is the bad one, or this is the clever one, this is the smart one, this is the one that just is attractive and doesn't have any strategy.
Right, exactly.
So there you go.
Yeah, so, you know, with Soap absent, what's another character we can talk about this episode? I think that would be, I think Suitcase is a good character to talk about.
Suitcase has plenty of material packed in.
Yeah, so I think, you know, obviously Suitcase is one of those characters that's not as easy to read as Soap.
Yeah.
She doesn't have a very clear problem that's present in even her design. With Soap, you know what you're gonna get.
Yeah. With Suitcase, yeah, she doesn't really open herself up to many people. No pun intended.
Haha. But yeah.
Right.
So Suitcase is one of those characters that is having trouble fitting in with other people, but also is having trouble kind of dealing with the fact that she's on the bottom and being kind of pushed around by other people, but isn't quite open enough to talking about it.
Yeah.
Kind of ignores it and just lets it sit there.
She kind of tries to deny it. Like, is she really at the bottom? Or does she have friends? Does she not? Are they just using her? Is she a temporary asset? Or, yeah, do they look at her as a real friend?
Yeah, and that's something that I don't think she even knows. But we're going to delve into that in episode 10.
Episode 10.
Why don't we talk a little bit about episode 10?
Episode 10 is the 10th episode of Inanimate Insanity 2.
I want to ask you, Brian, because we're not going to talk about spoilers. We're not going to talk about anything that happens. But,
of course.
Brian, what have you done for episode 10?
Well, we did write episode 10, and we're currently in a bit of a rewriting stage, based on okay, let's look back at it. Like, sometimes you leave your work there after a while, come back to it with a fresh perspective. But we have that done. We have a lot of voicing done. We have an audio mix, I think, pretty much locked in, ready to go. If whatever happened, it's
pretty much, guys.
There, yeah.
Our script is written and voice acted and even audio edited.
Yeah. So there you go.
What we may do is redo one or two scenes and kind of swap them out. But overall, that phase is pretty much complete.
Yeah, we got a big jump on this. So
yeah. So we originally made episode 9 as one giant 24-minute thing.
Right.
And we realized that we want to get content out quicker. And we also believed that both of the halves of the story could make really good stories on their own. So we thought we would do something original and unique and kind of put a spin on it and end it on less of a finalized note. With every other episode, it's been, here's a contest, here are the people that lost, here these people are up for vote, and that is it. And that's great, that's awesome. But the problem is it's starting to get a little it's going to get old if you do the same thing every single time. So we're trying to find ways to be original. And I think that threw some people off guard. And that's okay. That's part of trying new things. And, what do you think about this, Brian? Oh, Brian, are you there?
Sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay.
What did I miss?
Okay. I basically said, what do you think about how we handle the ending of episode 9? Throwing in a contest as well and bringing it all at one time.
Yeah, it's kind of like what I was saying before. If you have the characters encounter difficulties, but then it feels like everything just kind of got tied up in sort of a bow at the end of an episode. Oh yeah, no, we finished the challenge, elimination, vote for someone. It just sort of feels all right, well, the show's just going on. Nothing really happened to anyone. But the heart of the show is always there, even if you change the format. The reality show within the show kind of reflects what people come to the show for and expect from it as the show that it is. And when you ditch expectations and tear down that barrier, you open yourself up to a whole new level of realism and a whole new level of unpredictableness and insanity, or maybe it's just more filler. I don't know. You decide.
And I think that's the big thing is people sometimes mistake filler for extraordinary stuff. Extraordinary meaning out of the ordinary.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, it really depends on what you see as the plot. This episode, there was no challenge. So people said, wow, there was no plot and nothing happened.
No forward momentum. Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah.
That's the overarching story of the whole show. That doesn't necessarily mean there isn't anything else going on, which there is. And we wanted to take a chance to explore everything going on in the show, including the characters. So we took a break from the challenge aspect of it, and that's what we did this episode. Obviously, that's going to throw people off guard, and that's fine.
and it should. You should be wait, what happened here? It's different. I've experienced that myself. I know I've seen There was one episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender that comes to mind called The Beach, where there were a lot of antagonists, and it primarily focused on them and them just kind of hanging out and being like teenagers and stuff, and like settling their issues. And like, I'm being vague about it so I don't spoil anything, but at the time I was like, what was that? Like, that was like, I didn't know the word filler, but that was filler. I look at it now and I realize that it was really like a beautiful episode, and like moved the characters forward in ways we didn't know at the time, but then really paid off later in the season or book, as they call it. And I'm not saying that's what we did here, but
yeah, it's expanding the universe.
Yeah.
Think of it this way, right? What are they doing when they're not competing? Have you ever seen that before? I don't know. Have you? Yes. But, not as much as this episode.
Right.
What are they doing when they're not competing? What are their friendships like? Who are they as characters? Those are things that a lot of shows don't do, that we want to make sure we do, because we take it very seriously and we want to make sure. And if you don't really care about the characters and you just kind of want to see action and stuff like that, I mean, there's plenty of other things you can watch.
Yeah.
But it's just not what it is.
Right. And there you have those episodes. Okay. I assume you guys can still hear me, even though Adam muted. But like, yeah, like you have those episodes there that are maybe a little bit more action oriented and have like, a full somewhat resolution within like a 20 or so minute time span. But sometimes things in life are left unresolved, and we want to reflect that in this episode of II. And, like some people may see it as like incomplete, but it depends on your perspective. And like, we understand all opinions, and we're always really interested to hear what you guys think. And yeah, I mean, that's about it in regards to that specific point. Let me take a look at some of the comments, because I haven't.
Oh yeah, and I'll check the email for questions.
Okay. Are you planning on ever doing a double elimination? From Mason Sykes.
That's something I don't think we really want to delve into right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Just stay tuned. That's kind of a spoilery thing that we don't really want to answer.
Gotcha. All right. From ITZ Cherries, I guess it's Cherries. Adam Katz, I have a question. Does Taco have a new voice or something?
Yes, Taco does have a new voice. If you remember, okay, so in early season 1, Taco was played by my sister, Samantha. And later into the season, she decided, because she's my little sister, that she didn't really feel like doing it anymore. So then
sisterhood.
I played Taco in the second half of the season. But my voice was a lot higher back then, so I could pull off like a feminine voice, but now I can't. So I really wanted to find a new voice actress to play Taco, because Taco is a girl character, or at least she identifies as being a girl. So we wanted to find an actor that could really do the British side justice, as was revealed in the finale. So we really wanted to do that. And I thought that Aislinn was a really good pick. Aislinn is Dalton's friend in real life. So he said, "Oh wow, I know someone who would really fit the job," and I mean, he was right. Aislinn did a great job.
I was so impressed. I thought the voice acting was phenomenal.
Yeah, I thought he did great. He actually has a YouTube channel, and he's actually been commenting on the episode, and it just says Taco as his channel.
Yeah,
I thought it was a fan account, but it's really him, and he's really answering questions and thanking people for liking the voice. I think a lot of people like the new voice, and that's great, because it was really hard, because it's a nostalgic character in the series, and we wanted to make sure we picked the right person, and I think we did.
Yeah. Mix of the old and the new, and yeah, no, I was very happy with how convincing Taco sounded in her proposition to microphone.
Oh, for sure.
So let's see. What else do we have? Someone was actually asking about what if the final two was Paper and OJ instead of Taco. We touched on that a little bit before, on why we didn't pick Paper. And yeah, if it was OJ and Paper, I mean, like,
it would have been a very different story. It would have been less intense for sure.
Yeah, we wouldn't have been like,
sorry, I have to compete against you. Me too.
Yeah,
it would have been lame. I mean, they're great characters, but they don't really have a contrast that works.
We would have had to do a last-minute conflict that would have felt really forced.
Yeah, and we didn't feel like making them go. I need to win, even though you're my friend. I need to betray you.
Everyone betrays me. Like, no, like,
yeah.
yeah, that would have been a really misleading lesson there.
Yeah,
that would have been really bad.
That would have been very misleading. And I think the message of that entire episode was, I want to spend this money on all the people I like because I care about them, and I don't want to spend it all myself.
Yeah, and OJ came to terms with the fact that like not everyone's out to get him, and now so then now when he talks to Balloon, he gets it. He realizes that people weren't just trying to stab him in the back. It wasn't anything personal. It was a show, and OJ definitely has come to that understanding. OJ has definitely.
Yeah. OJ doesn't like Balloon.
Yeah,
but he's a good person, and Balloon is also a good person, and they kind of, he understands Balloon's situation, and he's above just poo-pooing him and sending him away.
Right.
He gives him his advice, and
OJ's open-minded.
Exactly.
Balloon is a little naive, but that's just the way they are.
Childish character for sure.
Right.
What about Balloon? What did Balloon do in this episode?
Balloon? Well, I mean, Balloon kind of had a bit of an interesting conversation with Suitcase, a bit of a parallel there, and revealed sort of more about his past and how he's attempted to, gain the approval of others, as he put it. And sometimes that's not necessarily the best direction for you to take. And I mean, maybe if he worked hard enough at it, they would start to understand a change, but maybe it's better to just find new people who are more accepting and won't just treat him as this awful person right out of the gate. Like, OJ's not necessarily right, but he certainly has a point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that was his advice, and that's kind of his viewpoint on the situation.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I do want to talk a little bit about how awful making this episode was.
Go for it.
Okay, so, being the head animator right now, I encountered a lot of technical difficulties, especially on the last night of production, which was right before the episode came out. We really finished the episode an hour before it was put out this time.
Yep.
And one really large problem that was encountered really at the last minute was the fact that, I don't want to put names on anything, but somebody accidentally animated a scene at the wrong frame rate.
Yeah. It
was 16 frames per second, and the show is animated at 24 frames per second. And when you put it in the episode,
it's a little jarring.
16, not that. It moves super fast because it doesn't match up to the audio.
Right. No, yeah, that's fine.
So that made the scene useless, and it actually didn't work with the episode. So I had to really spend a lot of time trying to find a way to fit it in to match the audio and kind of convert it to 24. It wouldn't convert it, but it would mesh it. So basically what happened was every 3 frames, it would just be the second frame again. And no one noticed, actually. I didn't get a single comment about how one scene looked a little bit choppier than anything else, which is great because that means it wasn't obviously a big problem.
Yeah, no, it kind of worked out. I mean, like, the scene had a bit of a surreal vibe to it, so maybe that, like,
There's actually a picture of that scene, in right now that you're looking at. It's from that scene with Microphone and Taco at the end.
Yeah, there you go.
So that was terrible. Another thing that was terrible was we had to rewrite an entire scene, and then revoice act that. The Balloon and OJ scene for us was really, really hard.
Yeah. No, I appreciated the people who said that it was really well written because we poured a lot of soul into that. We were writing that when we were still like in our high school senior year, and now it's out and you can watch it. And
yeah, it's just one of those things where it's just you could go so many ways with it.
Yeah.
But which is the right way? We really wanted to make sure it wasn't too emotionally manipulative, and that it seemed like a real conversation, not just, hey, Balloon, you should find other people.
Right.
Really? Wow. I mean, that's just not the way the world works. And we wanted to interpret it in a realistic fashion, and I think we did that.
Right.
I mean, oh well, we tried.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely didn't want to retread old ground. We didn't want to just make it Balloon wants to impress people, and he can't, and he's sad. We wanted him to at least receive a notion of where to go from here instead of just, oh well, I guess no one will ever care about me. Feel bad.
And we could have easily made him go to OJ. You know, she's like, get out of here. No one likes you.
Get out of here. It's pouring raining out, though, OJ. I don't care.
Get out of here. Yeah, we could have easily done that, but that would be awful. And that would make OJ a terrible character. So we didn't do that. And we instead interpreted it in a more realistic fashion. Maybe we made OJ more open-minded than some people would think.
Yeah.
But that's the way the character is. He's
Right.
hospitable. That's like his entire character.
Yeah, we didn't want to betray the integrity of the character and the arc he went through just for like an easy story device for a character that's currently in the competition. So
Absolutely not. All right, so I actually got a bunch of questions on my email account.
Oh, great.
I provided. So, from Lucas Chan, where did the title of the episode fit in with the content of the episode? That's a good question.
Very interesting question.
The title is, as it says on this graphic, Rain on Your Charade. Brian, I think maybe you want to explain that.
Sure. I mean, like, we went through a lot of interesting conversations. Well, you know, like a few conversations at least about what exactly this title could be. Because normally what we just always do is we'll make it like a play on words, but the play on words will have some sort of hint at what the challenge is. But as you may have noticed, there was no challenge in this episode. So the play on words couldn't really reflect, like, specifically what the challenge was. So it had to be some sort of other aspect. And we thought the rain was a very memorable, like, visual kind of cue and motif in the balloon flashback scene. And a lot of the characters arguably, you know, have their charades or facades, or basically, like, to put it in simpler terms, they'll talk to other characters in such a way that you're not sure if they're being real with them or not. And sometimes maybe people will, those characters will accept it because it's something they feel like they need to hear. But I mean, like, Baseball will talk to Suitcase about how he has her back, and Taco will talk to Microphone about it, and Soap will talk to Microphone about it, and Suitcase will talk to Balloon about it. You never know who has a charade or not. And this episode is kind of about, you make your own conclusion and you deduce whether or not they're being real with them or not, and you allow the rain to sour and degrade and reveal that they were putting on a charade. There you go.
Exactly. Putting on a charade is obviously more of a metaphor than anything. It's not like they were having a charade challenge.
They weren't playing charades.
So I think a lot of people were like, oh, it must be a charades episode. But no, it wasn't.
There was no charades. I'm sorry.
There was no charades.
Charades is fun, though. I like
charades. Is great. I think that's an awesome challenge idea, and we'll keep it in mind. But unfortunately, that title's gone now. Oh, man. But, yeah, you know, it's kind of the idea of getting rid of the facade or the charade and being who you are. And, you know, Balloon kind of had to accept that. He went to OJ's with a note sheet with his apology written down, like, okay.
Yeah.
Not the way it works.
As OJ said, you got to be real with me here. So there you go.
And Suitcase even told him you can't manufacture an apology with a note sheet. Like,
right.
And Balloon said, oh, but he wouldn't let me say what I wanted to say. But, like, did Balloon say what he meant? And was that actually what happened? You know?
Yeah, why does he have to go to these people? Because it's the people he collected lemons with, stood on a cliff. It's the only people he knows. He needs to give other people a chance. And now I'm just paraphrasing what OJ said.
His reasoning was really stupid. You might have been watching the episode, and when he said, we collected lemons, it's got to be you. I mean, you're probably thinking that sounds incredibly dumb, and it's supposed to sound incredibly dumb. Yeah. He doesn't have really any reason.
There's no good reason.
Yeah, he doesn't have a good reason, and that's kind of the point, is he doesn't really identify with these people, and he should move on. If we made them actually have amazing times together, then that would kind of detract from the message of the scene, and they haven't, so it really worked.
Definitely haven't.
All right, we have another question.
Okay.
From Bennings, as yet untitled. To either Brian or Adam, what do you think was the most challenging scene of this episode to make, in not just animating, but also writing, set design, voicing? Okay, that's a very good question. Writing, absolutely the scene with OJ and Balloon.
There you go.
No question at all.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Set design wise, I really redid all the sets this time. I made all the new grass, the new sunset stuff, the clouds, and the new hotel, and the updated everything. Taylor drew the forest. So we kind of nothing was reused from episode 8, except for maybe a few bushes.
Yeah, and the only things reused from episode 7 were the brief parts when Mifone was like, "I was sued, tried in court."
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
That's true too.
And that was just that was a last minute addition as well. Just to
it just showed him talking before, and then I kind of threw that in as a visual funny gag there.
Yeah.
Voicing wise, the hardest was probably still OJ and Balloon. So there you go.
Yeah, it's
OJ and Balloon was hard to do.
Right.
Now we have a question from Pixelamation's Pen, who says, "Will Taco have an important role in the show or nah?"
You'll never see her again, ever.
Yeah, no, she will. We're not going to say how, but she's here to stay.
Yeah.
From Brian NWC. "Hey, Adam, I really liked your new episode of Inanimate Sanity.